Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Two Saints show with myself, Mark C, and my co-host, Mark H. Afternoon, Mark.
Afternoon, Mark. Looking forward to today's show. Plenty of news-related articles to get through, plenty of topics to discuss, and I hope all our listeners are keeping safe and well.
Absolutely, me too. So, just like to remind everybody before we get going today, the Two Saints Show has a Facebook page, Two Saints Show on Facebook. If you go on there, you can request a copy of our podcast that we now put up there weekly. If you send us a message on Facebook, on our Facebook page, the Two Saints Show, we can send you a direct copy of that. Also, we have our podcast show up on our YouTube channel now, which is the Two Saints Podcast Show. So if you go onto YouTube, look up the Two Saints Podcast Show, you can go on there, you can subscribe to the channel, listen back to our previous episodes, and also leave us any comments you want to leave, negative or positive. Let us know we're doing a good job and we're putting content out that people enjoy. So anyway, moving on from there, coming up in the show today, we have for you Norwich 0, Saints 3, our Two Saints review, Saints club news, other football news, Saints transfer news, and our preview of Saints versus Arsenal. So before the two Saints go marching in, we're going to disclaimer we normally put out, and we'll be back after that.
Fiesta FM Southampton 95.0 FM.
Disclaimer. The following program contains language, views, and opinions that may be unsuitable for some listeners. This is not necessarily a view or judgment of Fiesta FM, its management, other hosts, or advertisers. The show is for entertainment purpose only and is not intended to defame, insult, or offend anybody in any shape or form whatsoever. Listeners are advised to exercise caution in their own environment when listening to the show.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints Show.
Right, everybody, welcome back. So, our review of Norwich 0, Saints 3. Mark, I'll start with yourself. What did you make of it? Not a bad start, was it?
Well, the result was good. I can't complain about the result. You know, probably a shot in the arm that we needed, especially when you consider that it was one win in 5 or 6 before the restart. So to get the win under our belts in the current circumstances, because I'll be honest with you, mate, I wouldn't have fancied going there back in March, you know, because I don't think we were playing particularly well. We don't have that great a record at Carrow Road. I think the last time we won in the league there was 93-94 season, something like that. But it's been a while. So, you know, in the league, in the top flight, top flight football.
Yeah,
93-94 was the last time we won the championship. I think it was Cameron Jones scored. I was at that game. That was during the week that Alan Ball died. But anyway, I'm digressing. So first 10 minutes. First 10-15 minutes looking decidedly dodgy. I did think that even though you'd probably say Norwich didn't really have a clear-cut chance, although there was an interception by Danny Ings that looked like it was going to one of their players. But, you know, all I would say is they did come out and throw the kitchen sink at us. And,
absolutely.
You know, we weathered the storm without them actually creating, I would have said, a real clear-cut chance. You know, early doors, we looked a little bit all over the place. I mean, Jan Valery got caught out of position, which forced Stuart Armstrong into making what looked like a yellow card for me.
But absolutely.
Somehow, some way, he got away with it.
He certainly took one for the team there,
which surprised me because it was Kevin Friend, and I've got to say Kevin Friend was very liberal when it came to giving fouls and yellow cards.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought
in the game.
It seemed as though he was quite mindful of the fact it's the first game back and he didn't want to be flashing cards left, right and centre, to be fair, because like you said, Armstrong, that's a yellow card all day long. But it's that
that is what you call the classic professional foul.
Definitely.
That was one of those. But the thing is so after the first 15 minutes, obviously you could see that we grew into the game. There were chances. I mean, run from Jack Stevens somehow found himself in the 18-yard box, right? And to be fair to him, I mean, I've heard one or two people being critical, but it is a centre half in the 18-yard box.
Absolutely.
So for me, he does the right thing. He lays it off to Danny Ings.
Yep.
I suppose you could say could have maybe done a little bit better, but it's one of those, isn't it?
It was one. The thing is, Mark, he hit it, and if anything, he actually hit it too well, didn't he? Because he caught it. Yeah. He caught it on the full, but I think he actually hit it too well. Unfortunately, I was convinced he put it in. To be fair, but
I think as well for me, I mean, it's hard to tell the angle of the camera, but it looked like it was quite a tight angle because it looked like, there wasn't much room for error, really.
I looked it back on the highlight, and to be fair, it does look like quite a tight angle from there, surprisingly. So anyway, end of the second half, go off for their half-time break, and into the second half, Danny Ings gets his goal. Great build-up play between him and Stuart Armstrong. And basically, I think as soon as the first goal went in, mate, to be honest, there was only ever going to be one winner. Yep.
I mean, as the half wore on, as the second half wore on, I mean, Norwich in the last half hour looked knackered. I mean, when you look at how over the lockdown, the Saints players have had their own individual fitness regimes to follow. They've been weighing in daily, from what I hear, and it sort of shows the level of professionalism even when they're not playing.
Oh, absolutely.
Whereas Norwich did look like a team that hadn't sort of played in the last 3 months,
I thought Norwich did start quickly, but I thought once Saints kind of got over the first 10-15 minutes, it was a bit lacklustre and a little bit rusty, maybe to be expected. Yeah. I thought after that, our intensity level went up, our energy level went up, and we just dominated after that, didn't we?
But the second half, I thought was outstanding. I mean, the dominance in the second half, mate, it was only down to one thing, and that was fitness. I mean, I thought our fitness levels was, really up there compared to Norwich's. It did surprise me.
Yeah, to me,
Danny Ings looked like he had a power pack on his back because he was all over that game. Defensively, attacking, all over the game. And I don't know whether it was because he hadn't played football for 3 months, but he looked keen as mustard to lay a marker down, So anyway, the second goal, as you like to say, it was a knockdown from Omafemi, but again, it was basically Danny Ings returning the compliment for Stuart Armstrong.
Yep, absolutely.
And delightfully tucked the way it was. I mean, all three goals were really good goals. Even even the third goal, which was an Omafemi assist for Nathan Redmond, but Nathan Redmond had a lot to do, in the sense of it was a very, very good shot low down into the left-hand corner. And it just topped off what was a fairly good all-round performance apart from the first 15 minutes, And as I say, utterly dominant. They probably could have had, 5.
Definitely.
If Omafemi with a couple of chances, had a chose the right options at times, I think it would have been even more.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Stuart Armstrong, man of the match for me. I thought he put in a great performance, sterling performance from him. Danny Ings right behind him on that one. And Ward-Prowse had a good game as well. Obafemi got a bit of criticism for the fact his first touch was quite poor, although he did obviously layer a couple of goals on, so a couple of assists there for him indirectly. But I thought, yeah, I mean, fairly positive. Jan Valery, for me, you were concerned about how he was going to start the game. Started with an absolute aberration. Thankfully, we didn't get punished for it, and he had a couple in the second half. But as the game went on, he seemed to, although he did get caught out a couple of times, he did actually recover. But obviously, he's a young lad; he's still got a lot to learn. But yeah, he didn't start the game brilliantly. And Michael Obafemi, you know, we've got a talent there. He needs a bit of work, but I think if we give him a bit of work in the right areas, we've got quite a player there. So
yeah, I mean, all
good to see we came through, got the 3 points, which was important, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say on those 2 points that you raised, Mark, is that Michael Obafemi's still very raw, and you know, I'm still expecting things to develop for him. You know,
yeah,
I think it's a watch and brief with him really to sort of see if he can play Premier League football week in, week out. You know,
right. That's right.
And stake his claim as a Southampton Premier League player.
Yeah, definitely.
For Jan Valery, all I would do and say to the listeners out there is remember last season when people said what a quality right back he was, right?
Yeah.
When he was scoring the goal at Manchester United, and I think he scored against, was it Tottenham at home?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was the first one, and James Ward-Prowse scored the free kick.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was going to say was, you know, just remember when he was marauding down the right-hand side in those games and other games last season, you know, and people were remarking about what a great talent he was, and he still is.
Yeah,
he still
absolutely.
is. I mean, okay, defensively, obviously, he still has a bit to learn and everything else. But, you know, you can't turn around and start praising somebody 1 minute and then take it away from them the next minute.
Unfortunately,
these are still young, talented players.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think sadly we've got a minority of fans who are very good at tearing players apart, aren't they? Sadly, and it's not how the majority of fans feel, but there is a minority of fans, sadly, from Southampton that do strip players down. And, you know, it is a minority, but it's sad to see because it doesn't do them any good. It's not good for their confidence. And it's difficult to play under that environment, isn't it?
Very much so, very much so. Which, you know, going into Thursday night, it's something they don't have to deal with, which is brilliant.
Absolutely. Yep. Oh, we'll come flying out to Thursday. We'll be like whippets. Right, Ralph Hootle said he felt that Saints deserved to win. Praised them for a buoyant performance. Yeah, I can't really argue with that. I would agree with Ralph on that, Mark, wouldn't you? We deserve to win.
Yeah, I think you know, as we've covered, apart from the start, I think they ran out, as I like to say, they ran out worthy winners, 3-0. You know, and yeah, I mean, Ralph's fair in his assessment of everything.
Yeah, and obviously Stuart Armstrong also said it was about making a good start. He was glad to begin Premier League. He was glad to resume the Premier League, obviously, and he said it was all about him getting a good start, wasn't it? Which they've certainly done, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, as we touched on, you know, the players once they grew into the game, they looked like they were enjoying it, and they looked like they were enjoying being back doing their day job, so to speak. You know, and as I said before, nobody typified that more than Danny Ings. I mean, you know, half the time they looked like they were having basically a kickabout in the playground, and they were just glad to be, dare I say, a bit like the rest of us, you know, released after being cooped up for a couple of months.
Yeah, and I think that showed with the goal celebrations as well, wasn't it? Because temporarily, obviously, during the celebrations, they kind of forgot the fact they were supposed to be distancing, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to judge them for it. It's easily done, but please try and remember that, you know, when you're doing the soup. But the thing is like, I suppose it's like everything else. I mean, on the pitch, you know, if you watch the game on the pitch, people aren't socially distancing at corners. I mean, what has surprised me since the Premier League has restarted is the intensity that's involved, because people still look very, very committed. Unlike,
definitely.
You know, especially when you look at our first weekend.
Yep.
You know, and the Bundesliga first weekend, because basically, you know, the Bundesliga first weekend, they were socially distancing on the pitch.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, the thing is, we banged on about, didn't we, with that when Gordon Strachan was in charge of Saints, how fit the team was. And I think fitness will be very key, and it certainly was against Norwich, and it will be against Arsenal as well. And Ralph Hasenhüttl, who's obviously alluded to that, he's also said that he backs his side to kick on and start climbing the table. Obviously, Saints have all but secured their top flight survival with that convincing 3-0 win, obviously. We feel they still need another 3 points, which hopefully they'll get on Thursday against Arsenal. Arsenal and Watford on the horizon, obviously. Ralph said, we've got another 8 games. What I can say is the team looks very fit. Can't argue with that. He felt they had a physical advantage, and that's very important. Definitely an intense time. And obviously against Arsenal, they'll need to be keeping that intensity going, won't they? But I feel their fitness and their intensity will be key. Certainly was against Norwich. And I think if they play with the intensity and the energy level they had against Norwich, I'm confident they'll get a result against Arsenal. Right. And I think it's very key for the remaining 9 games.
I'm keeping my powder dry till we'll get to the preview of the Arsenal game. All I would say is, many a Saints fan has fell on his sword, Mark.
Yep.
You know, one win against the bottom of the table side doesn't make an Indian summer.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that one. Right, so at that point, we've come to the end of the first section of today's show. So we're going to take a short break. And when we come back from that, we'll be moving on to Saints Club News links.
The Two Saints Show here on Fiesta FM. Tune in every Thursday, 12 till 2 for informative football chat and great tunes.
Right, welcome back, everybody. So moving on, Saints Club News links. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg stripped to Southampton captaincy. Ralph backs Ward-Prowse to be Saints skipper for many years to come. Hasenhüttl wants to restore Saints Academy to former glories. Saints announce new ticketing system. Saints freeze 2020 and 21 season ticket prices. Free Now TV passes for season ticket holders. Premier League fixtures, BBC to show Southampton versus Man City. Ralph Hasenhüttl tipped to make jump from Springboard Club Southampton. Right, going all the way up to the start, Mark. Saints captaincy, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and James Ward-Prowse. Pierre obviously being stripped to the captaincy, and Ralph saying that Ward-Prowse is going to be Saints skipper for many years to come. I think I'm certainly in favour of Ward-Prowse as captain. I understand Ralph's stance, and it's cost Pierre, hasn't it, being honest about where his future lies. His words have come back and bitten him on the bum, haven't they?
The thing, what I didn't understand was, right, so 3 weeks ago, Pierre came out and let us know where he stood, okay? And then, what was it? Not Friday gone there, which was match day. I think on the Thursday, so the day before, he gave another interview. I think it was the Builder, restating what he'd said 3 weeks ago. And you're sat there thinking, yeah, Pierre, I don't think that's the smartest move. So, of course, the fact that, Ralph had said what he said after he'd signed his contract, hoping everybody else would follow suit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it like that. Right? Then basically Pierre, reiterates, as I say, the day 2 days before the game, whatever it was, or in this magazine, The Builder, or newspaper, The Builder.
Yeah, great timing, Pierre.
The same thing that he'd said 3 weeks previous, and you're sort of sitting there going, well, you're deliberately just looking for him to take the captaincy off him, aren't you? And
the thing is, I'm glad he has
on the James Ward-Prowse front, mate, obviously he is the perfect fit. I'm hoping someone like Danny Ings is the club captain or the vice captain, whatever way it works these days.
Yeah.
But I think if you've got those two working in tandem, James is the actual, on the field captain and stuff like that. That's definitely a good step on the pitch, I think, because obviously James has been around the club for long enough. He knows what it's all about playing for the club.
Yeah.
And obviously with Danny Ings, obviously, local lad made good, as they say, understands again, from a supporter's point of view, certainly understands what it means to play for the club and stuff like that. So I think the two complement each other well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
No?
I agree with that. And obviously Ward-Prowse is living every Portsmouth fan's dream, isn't he? Captain in Saints. Sorry, I had to get that one in. A bit tongue-in-cheek, but...
I mean, I had to laugh, right? Because obviously, when I was having to do the research for the show, right, one of the links to the story that I came across when I was searching on the computer, right, was the news, right? From down the road, the news down the road, right? Their link to the story was former season ticket holder James Ward-Prowse, right, appointed Saints captain. You always got to put that one in.
Yeah, I can imagine
season ticket holder,
and I can imagine the euphoria that surrounded that news in Portsmouth, can't you?
Yeah, the silence was deafening.
Yeah, they're having a bit of a shocking season, aren't they? Anyway, yeah. So there we go. But no, I think Ward-Prowse is a perfect fit for skipper. Like you say, with him and Danny Ings, they get the club, they get the ethos, don't they? They get the club ethos, they get the history, and yeah, for me, totally the right thing to do. And Pierre, silly boy, really, and it just causes issues, doesn't it? Thankfully, it's not causing issues in the dressing room. But the worry is, if it goes on much longer, is it going to cause an issue in the dressing room? Because sadly, we've been here before, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, all I would say is I don't think that the fact that he's come out and said what he said will affect him.
Yeah.
Because I do think, although he's a bit sheepish, right, and that's the best word I can describe him, sheepish, right, I do think that Pierre's a very professional footballer, right, so I don't think it'll affect him, him personally. So,
yeah, I hope not. I mean, I would agree with that. Apart from the fact that obviously in the Norwich game, he was definitely better second half, but I thought he had a poor game against Norwich. To be fair, it wasn't one of his best games in a Saints shirt, and I couldn't help thinking that all the speculation about his future did affect him a little bit. But as you say, normally he's professional. And Martin Semmens himself came out and said Pierre's always professional on the pitch, always gives 100%. So I hope he does for the remaining games of the season, because I've got to be honest, against Norwich, he didn't look as though he was quite on it or quite there.
I just think
he can only get better.
I just think he had a quiet game, Mark, but what he did well enough,
Yeah. I mean, second half, he was definitely better.
Because everybody has a specific role.
Yeah, I get
in the team, and his role's fairly specific. I mean, just one thing I would say is that in terms of how we set up now, I mean, we look much more of a threat going forward.
Oh, definitely.
And the only real worry we have is kind of defensively. I mean, I didn't really touch on it, but in those opening 10 minutes, Alex McCarthy had staying and going issues.
Yep.
He had ball distribution issues.
Yeah.
Where he was playing defenders into trouble. But we've done the review of the game.
Yep.
But, as I say, in regards to the captaincy, I think it's a great step forward, to be honest, because, even if Pierre's to stay, because, you don't know how the markets are going to be this summer. Yep. Southampton may not get the achievable money, and there may not be offers in from bigger clubs. And if there's not offers in from bigger clubs, Pierre might have to turn around and say, "Okay, I've got it wrong," in relation to sort of moving clubs, and he might sign a new contract. But then I'm saying that pigs might fly.
That's very true.
And I am expecting him to move. There The where I don't know, because nobody knows what the financial situation of the transfer market will be this summer.
Yeah, and some of it, let's hope some of the stuff we've talked about isn't happening, because there were a couple of rumours circulating about Pierre that are slightly worrying, which hopefully we'll get to at some point. Anyway, moving on to the next article. Ralph Hasenhüttl was determined to bring back Saints' reputation as one of the best youth player developers in the world. Stars such as Gareth Bale, Theo Walcott, Luke Shaw and Alex Chamberlain all graduated from the club's famed academy, well known that they did that. James Ward-Prowse aside, the next generation of players are still trying to make their mark. The likes of Will Ferry, Will Smallbone, Nathan Teller, these are all youngsters coming through. Hasenhüttl actually developed the SFC playbook, as it's become known, during this break that we've had due to the virus. He said, I can't say why it's so difficult in the last few years to bring through young players to the Premier League, but all over the world, this hunt for the most talented players gets tougher and tougher all the time. Big teams have changed their philosophy and don't always want popular players. They also want to take big talents. He's probably right in saying that. And I think it's probably the way forward for a club like Saints, isn't it? They obviously do have a limited budget. They don't have bottomless pockets. And obviously the youth philosophy is always something that served Saints quite well, certainly back in the 80s under Merrington and Laurie McMenemy. So you'd like to see that come forward and bear fruit again, Mark, wouldn't you?
Well, you would hope that it's going to bear fruit again. I mean, I think, for a period of time recently, even though we've had one or two sort of make it through to the first team, I mean, the only real person to cement themselves in recent years is Ward-Prowse. Yeah. And that was borne out whenever, Les had the fallout with Ronald about how good the academy was, and there was a difference of opinion there. And I'll leave it with the listeners for them to decide who was right on that one and who was wrong.
Absolutely.
But I mean, look, the thing is the youth setup's a vital cog for a club like Southampton, in the sense of, you definitely every, say, 5 years, you want to be producing one or two from the academy.
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise, you look at the investment, in terms of the money put into it.
Yeah,
you're thinking to yourself, I'm not getting much of a return for my money.
Yeah, absolutely right.
You might be helping to, create football league players. People who'll have a league career or might drift off into the higher echelons of the non-league. But really, at the end of the day, Saints' goal should be to try and produce players for at least the first team squad, if not the first team.
Yeah, and Ralph himself alluded to that by saying this is a special way for us. There are not a lot of alternatives. We can't ask for 50 million transfers every year. It's not possible. It's an interesting way for us to go. That means you sometimes lose your talent to others. But there's so much talent out there, and even for us, it's possible for us to bring good players in. We'll especially try to bring in young players, develop them, and as a team be successful. So he's got a blueprint there, quite a key blueprint. As you said yourself, he does need a bit of time at the club to actually establish that. So obviously he signed this 4-year deal now that gives him a little bit of a footing to start that process. Let's hope he's here long enough to see it through, Mark. So there we go. I think that's probably quite a good summary of that. So moving on, Saints announced that their new ticketing system, which we've both had a little bit of a look at. I must admit, there's a lot of information out there, Mark, and I'm not wholly 100% convinced that we've got quite a decent handling of it as yet. I certainly haven't. What about yourself? It seems like a bit of a minefield.
I mean, I've got to be honest. With ticketing systems and Saints, I struggle anyway. I think, I said to you the other night that I think this is the 4th new ticketing system that we've had in 10 years, and all I can do is speak from my own experience. I mean, as we have touched on the show before, I'm disabled, you're disabled, and we have issues trying to purchase tickets.
Oh yes,
through the website, whether it's season tickets or whether it's match tickets for away games or whatever, And to be honest with you, after last night's debacle with you and I trying to sort it out, I don't think it's improved any.
So Secutix is a cloud-based ticketing solution. It will handle both ticketing and hospitality bookings through its Secutix 360-degree platform. Reporters will receive further communication on how to update their accounts with the new system in the coming weeks. Yeah, I must admit, it was a bit of a shock for me. Went in there thinking, oh yeah, I'm just logging in with former details. No, it turns out you've got to change your passwords and all sorts of other garbage you've got to do, which is, and it turned into a bit of a palaver last night when me and Mark were having a little trial with it, and I thought I'd do it purely and simply for the benefit of the listeners, give them some more information when we were talking about it. That obviously didn't quite work.
No. I mean, as I say, followed all the links, used the temporary password, tried to change it to a permanent password, one I could remember, and it wouldn't let me do that. And I'm following all the rules, and I'm thinking, what's going on?
Oh, yeah. So it says they were impressed by their open platform and ability to connect with the latest in digital technologies to power an improved online experience for our fans and customers. Well, I would say you failed on that first paragraph immediately, judging by what we went through last night. But there's time before everything gets going properly and before everyone has to get their season tickets. So hopefully by the 1st of September, it'll all be up and running perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, I hope, I'm sure other people's experience are different, but that was just our experience, just having a little play with it last night.
It seems as though it will be a good system, but I do think obviously it's going to take a bit of getting used to, but like anything new, Mark, that's par for the course, isn't it?
Yeah, no, very much so, mate, very much so.
So obviously I think it's a good idea to move on to the next topic, which is Saints have frozen their 2020-21 season ticket prices. I can think of a few people be quite happy the season ticket prices have been frozen, but I can also think of a few people be a bit miffed at the fact they haven't dropped them. So obviously for some people, depending on what you've decided to do, you will get a certain amount off your renewal, Mark, won't you, if you decide to renew?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's definitely worth doing that if you're considering it. But
I think from my point of view, Mark, right, what I found interesting was, and we're going to come on the, I think one of the topics kind of covers it, but I'm gonna speak about it now in terms of the season tickets, right? So, I would say that, a fair majority of the season ticket holders are probably going to be in the stadium by around about January, December time, right?
Yeah.
Because I'll say the fair majority of season ticket holders by that time, right? Because obviously Christmas, New Year's the busiest period for the football club, right? And I see it as them being keen to have as many supporters in the stadium with prefixes there, but as many supporters in the stadium as possible over that Christmas, New Year period. Plus, it gives people the good, the feel-good factor, right? Because Christmas, New Year, anyway. So that's my kind of thinking. And before that, I think, they're probably going to set limits. So you're probably looking at anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 to start off with.
Absolutely.
Right. And I do think it will go down to a ballot, but only certain sections of the crowd, to be honest with you. But I'm not willing to go into that on air, who that is and who that isn't. But
no, understandable.
You know what I'm talking about. But
I do.
So looking at just looking at the season ticket prices, I haven't got an issue. Okay, you're roughly, they've put you financially up against the 4 games that you've missed, and you've probably got about 20 quid on top of that. Anywhere between 15 and 20 quid on top of that, the club's kind of give you in the discount stakes.
Yeah, I think if you're doing a
renewal against your season ticket price. But having said all that, Mark, I don't like the fact that you're kind of locked in, to be honest with you, because you think about it this way, right? You buy a season ticket for next season, 19 home games, okay? 19 home games. Now, theoretically, right, and I'm just sort of spitballing here, but say they say to you, all right, okay, you're not going to make 14 of those, right? But you're going to be at 5 of them, right? I'm just talking personally for me as a disabled fan, because my own thoughts is that we won't be allowed back into the stadium till much later on. Okay, right. So I'm saying the last 5-6, games of the season, all right, at home. And my thought is this: so I'm going to miss round about 13 or 14 games, right? And they're saying, oh, you'll get credits. So all those credits will mount up. We'll come to the end of the season, right? And they'll put it against my account again. But it feels like each time I'm still paying money out.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I'm not seeing the product.
Yeah, I get that.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So you're still kind of tied to it. Don't get me wrong. Right, when you're a supporter, you're married to the football club, right? Yeah. And I've seen some reports, some articles from people, saying, you must buy a season ticket. You must buy a season ticket. Why?
You must.
Why?
Must you?
People are going to be financially hurting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And it isn't going to be as straightforward as. Let's go and buy a season ticket, because people won't have the same disposable income, and they'll prioritise what they're going to do.
And it's important to point out to everyone as well.
Mark, I am going to renew because I'm like I said. The problem is I feel like I'm in a vice, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because I feel. It's my club. There's a certain degree of loyalty.
Yeah.
Do I like the fact that, I'm paying for a product, the majority of which I'm convinced I'm not going to see next season, and while it's nice for them to give me the credit and all the rest of it, I'm still sat there and I'm thinking to myself, you aren't getting anything different from what you get in a normal season. People were sat there going, oh, you get a £35 retail voucher, and then it's or. I mean, the funniest one was 35 quid off your away travel, right? And they're giving it to you in 7 different sections, right? So
£5
5 quid off each time you travel, right? I mean, away travel next season, you're having a laugh. You are having a laugh, mate. No way. I won't be doing any. I mean, don't get me wrong. As I say, I feel like I'm in a vice, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously, the danger is you don't renew your season ticket, you lose all that stuff from that season, right? And then the club penalise you. You know how it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this nonsense of away travel, you're sitting there going, most sensible people know that it's, you're going to be in a confined space. You're taking your life in your hands. I mean, my mate turned around and said to me the other day, he was getting the bus into town. I know I'm digressing here, right? He was getting the bus into town, had his mask on. People, you are meant to wear a mask on public transport, just letting you know.
That is actually mandatory.
Right? But people aren't doing it, Mark.
No, they're not.
Anyway, so he gets on the bus. He's sat on the bus. There's 5 people sat on the lower deck of this bus, right? There's other seats where you can go and sit. This bloke comes and says to him, is there anybody sat there? This is next to him. And Aaron goes, mate, there's loads of seats elsewhere on the bus. Please go and sit there,
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing is, I think what a lot of clubs have overlooked, our own club and all clubs, plus the Premier League as well, have overlooked is the fact that those people that are classed as the most vulnerable, those that have been shielding, that's not being lifted until the 6th of July at the earliest. And most of those people aren't going to be going to football. Yeah. So, those are the people that are going to, like yourself, struggle to comprehend what's happening with the season ticket and whether or not they should renew. And to be fair, £100 plus saving, okay, that's great. But like you say, you may not see the majority of the football. So that doesn't help anybody really.
It is a balancing act, but I just think I can't afford to lose what I've built up.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
In the sense of trying to make sure that you're as close to the front of the queue as possible. And that's what it's about. And the club know that as well. The club know that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I feel some fans will feel as though they're pressured into getting it, to be fair. They'll feel like they're pressured into doing their ticket, which shouldn't be like that. The club will say that's not what we're trying to do, and we get that, but that's how it feels to some people, unfortunately. That is what the perception will be to some people, sadly. Right, anyway, while we're still on the subject of season tickets holders are being given the opportunity to watch Saints matches shown on Sky Sports for free, thanks to Now TV. Season ticket holders who are aged 18 or over, have a UK address and are opted in to receive emails, will be emailed to Now TV 24-hour passes, allowing them to watch any of the club's games broadcast on Sky Sports till the end of the current campaign. That sounds like a bit of a contradiction in tone. So you'll be able to watch any game broadcast on Sky Sports till the end of the current campaign, but it's only 2 Now TV 24-hour passes.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a little confusing.
Right. I've had a little bit of a look at it, Mark, right? And it's more involved than that when you click on the link.
It actually is.
Because they want your details, and you're sort of sitting there thinking, well, if it's free, why do you need my details?
That's right. Yeah, unfortunately, they're asking for your registration and bank details. I won't be taking the offer up. Thankfully, I'm not a season ticket holder, but if I was, I wouldn't be taking that offer up because I can watch it for free.
As soon as I seen they were asking for bank details, I thought, no.
But the thing is as well, I actually can watch it for free without a Now TV pass. I won't go into the details of that, but I don't need a Now TV pass to watch them for free. I can do it anyway. But thank you very much, Southampton Football Club and Now TV. I do appreciate it, but I won't be taking your kind offer up.
The other thing I was going to say was very quickly, just to cover one of the other articles, while we're talking about TV, Saints obviously have been picked to play Manchester City on BBC, and you can give us the date. You can give us the date and kick-off time of that one if you want more.
So the date of that will be July the 5th. So that is July the 5th on BBC One, and as Mark's confirmed, it was Man City versus Saints on that date. 5th July, and it will be 7 o'clock on the 5th of July. So Norwich versus Everton is on the 24th of June at 6, and thankfully Man City is on the 5th of July at 7 p.m.
Okay. Right.
So there we go.
Moving on to the next article.
Yeah, and it says Ralph Hasenhüttl tips to make jump from springboard.
Did I laugh at this one?
This was from former Liverpool player. Oh, what a shocker. He's a Liverpool player. Former Liverpool player Didier Hamann. Right. Like he's an expert all of a sudden. Ralph's going to leave Southampton for a bigger club.
No. I think the reason why he's being listened to and everything's being tied in, Mark, is obviously he's German, right?
Shocker.
The thing is that he's not the only one that's doing it, though. I was speaking to a good friend of ours who I'm not going to out on air here.
Yep.
Right, and he said to me over the weekend. He said, of course, the problem is Ralph has one good season, right? It'll come to the attention of the bigger clubs. And he'll be off, right? And he named a certain North London club, right, who've only just installed their manager. I mean, he's been there since just before the turn of the year.
Yep.
Right? And he's turned around and said to me, right? He's turned around and this person has said to me, he said, don't worry, the relationship there between the manager and the chairman will go sour very quickly. And I'm sat there, and as a Saints fan, right, I just want to be able to enjoy the fact that Ralph has just signed, let's remember, he's just signed a 4-year contract, right?
Yep.
Automatically, you've got Didier Hamann, you've got close friends of ours, and, don't get me wrong, I value their opinions and that, but I'm sitting there thinking, can we not just take a break and enjoy the fact that Ralph just signed a 4-year contract?
I mean, literally, the second there's anything positive about Southampton Football Club, people are immediately, whether it's like other teams in the Premier League, whatever, they're immediately like, oh, yeah, Saints are getting above their station, better slap them down quickly. You know, positive news, no, we can't be having any positive news coming out of Southampton FC. Close it down straight away. You know, come up with some story that puts a negative spin on it. But let us enjoy the moment, seriously.
But it's because, right, it goes into the media and then somebody will turn around and they'll say, you know, this is why I don't listen to ex-footballers, right?
Yep.
And sometimes it's a bit why I don't like listening to some of our friends, right? Because you and I, when it comes to things on the pitch, we can be fairly negative, right? Yep. I reckon, you know, we're fairly sort of middle of the road when it comes to things off the pitch, right? We're not down on it, or I wouldn't say we're up on it. We just give our opinion on it, right?
Yeah.
You know, I have to say I was surprised, you know, when I was having this conversation with, you know, a friend of the show of ours, and I'm sat there and I'm thinking, you're a Saints fan. Let's just try and enjoy the moment rather than worrying about, you know, because you get all Mystic Meg, don't you? You know, people start looking at the future and you're sat there thinking, let's enjoy the now rather than what's good. You know, I'm not disputing that chances are if he has, you know, if he has a good season next season or whenever.
I'll be honest, Mark. My take on it is very similar to my stance regards to players now. I would rather have a really good player come to us and enjoy the couple of seasons they're here for before they move on than worry about when they're going to move on. And the same with managers, like with Ralph. I'd rather enjoy the good football under Ralph that we're going to get until he does move rather than worry about when he's going to move. I'm just going to enjoy it for what it is at the moment. I'm 100%. Going to enjoy the moment. I'm going to live in the moment. And if and when he moves, well, fair enough. It's inevitable, and I've started to accept that as a Saints fan. Players are going to move on, and managers are going to move on because we are a stepping stone club. I've come to that realisation now, and I embrace that because I think there's no point otherwise. I'm going to be sat there getting all emotional and all annoyed, going, "Oh, this player's going to leave, that player's going to leave, manager's going to leave." Stop worrying about it. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment.
All I would say there is good point, well made, Mark, and I agree with the majority of it. But I will never accept that Saints is a stepping stone club. It bloody annoys me.
Yeah, and I understand that.
People come out with it. At the end of the day, you're competing against teams that are in the same league as you. Stepping stone club, don't, let's be honest, right? I know we're not big in the grand scheme of things when you look at other clubs in the league. But we're in the same league, so it's hardly a stepping stone club, is it?
Right. I'm not saying that I accept. Right. I'm not saying that I believe.
I don't like that terminology.
No.
I don't like that. Let's read terminology.
Right. I'm not saying that I believe personally we are a stepping stone club. All I'm saying is I've come to the realisation that is where we've been put by various people. That's the bracket we've been put in, that we're a stepping stone club. Not saying I agree with that.
That's a media. That's a media, and let's read things. That's a media.
All I'm saying to you is I've accepted that we are going to get negative press. I've accepted we're going to be referred to as a stepping stone club. Doesn't mean I'm happy about it, and it doesn't mean I agree with it. It's just I'm realistic enough to realise that's where we're at the moment. We have to change that perception. All I would say
is I agree with everything you said, but in terms of that thing when they talk about stepping stone club, Mark, right? All I'm going to say on that point is Saints should be selling themselves on their own virtues, their own principles, and everything else.
And I agree with that 100%.
And the fact that the player that's coming is getting exposure to the Premier League is neither here nor there. They should be turning around and saying, you know, we're a good club, we've got a good set of values. You should want to come to us because you want to come here, not because you're looking at one or two moves ahead. No, not because of that.
No.
You know?
Yeah, I think we need to change everyone's perception.
Come to the club on its merits. Come to the club on its merits, not on other things.
Don't misunderstand me. My perception is I realise where we're at, given the label we are given. Doesn't mean I'm happy about it. I'm not, but also I do believe we need to change that perception that people have of us. We need to stop being a stepping stone club. As you said, we need to put our foot down and say, look, we're not a stepping stone club. You should come here because you want to come here because we're a good club.
Yeah.
Not because you want to move on in a couple of years' time.
Yeah.
Totally. Right, anyway, that brings us to the end of that section of today's show as well. So we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll be talking about other football news.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints Show.
Right, welcome back, everybody. So moving on, other football news. Newcastle United takeover. Saudi deal must be blocked. MP tells government. Barrow promoted back to the English Football League after National League vote. The government has been urged to block the Saudi Arabia-led takeover of Newcastle United until it investigates TV piracy in the country. Earlier this week, the World Trade Organization ruled that Saudi Arabia helped breach international piracy laws in relation to the broadcaster Bute Q. It's been accused of illegally broadcasting a range of professional sport, including the Premier League. In a letter seen by BBC Sport, McNeil says, as you've seen, the WTO has made a landmark ruling on protection of sports rights, which is one of the UK's most valuable and treasured sports. In its ruling, they held that the government of Saudi Arabia has from the beginning been actively supporting the Bute Q piracy operation that's stolen the commercial right of UK sports bodies for 3 years. So that's the rights to show Premier League games in the Middle East belong to Qatar-based beIN Sports, who are currently in the middle of a 3-year deal with the Premier League worth £400 million. Saudi Arabia has always denied aiding the operation and insisted there's no link, but it's obviously been shown that there has. So
there is.
Newcastle fans, Mark, must be pulling their hair out, thinking they finally got a shot at Mike Ashley and got a decent amount of money coming into the club, and it all comes grinding to a halt again. They must be absolutely mortified.
I mean, if you're a Newcastle fan, you're probably thinking the day is never going to come where Mike Ashley leaves this building. But just on the whole sort of, piracy thing, and right, basically, the Saudi government are now saying that they've shut down a number of sites, but the thing is they keep popping up all over the place. Yeah. And but the other thing, Mark, right, and the cynic in me, right, even though all these recommendations are being made, right, at kind of government level and all that there, right, do you genuinely think, right, knowing the Premier League as you and I do, right, do you genuinely think the Premier League, even though it affects them, because obviously, it's TV rights and all we're talking about, right, so it affects their revenues, okay, but do you genuinely think if somebody turns up at the Premier League headquarters with a pot of gold, right, and they're not a leprechaun at the end of the rainbow, right? Do you think if they turn up with a pot of gold at, Premier League's front door, right, the Premier League is going to turn them away and go, now, we're not interested in you taking over a Premier League club. Not on your Nelly. They're sat there going, we want you to take over this club. We need buckets of cash.
Well, we base it on our own experience, okay? The new owner of Southampton Football Club, or the majority shareholder of Southampton Football Club, was actually refused to buy Saints Football Club, was refused permission because he failed the fit and proper owner's test, was then granted permission to buy the club at the second attempt. So I believe that they're going to have it done.
After a private meeting,
Yeah, and this is not the first time that's happened in the history of the Premier League. It won't be the last time it's happened. The Premier League can give it the mouthpiece all they want of this isn't going to happen, that isn't going to happen. Everything's above board and whatever have you. Yeah, okay, if you say so. If a club turns up with a wad of cash, you're not going to turn them down. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Do I believe that the Saudi involvement,
not a club, but a new owner? You mean a new owner turns up?
Do I believe that they would listen to anybody saying, this deal shouldn't go through with the Saudis for Newcastle United? Rubbish. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd refuse it at all. I think they'd allow it based on our own experience as Saints fans and what we've seen, regards to our current majority shareholder. And regards to what's happening with Newcastle, I can totally see them going, it's not a problem. We'll just allow the takeover to go ahead. So there may be some light at the end of the tunnel for you Newcastle fans. Let's hope so, because they've been wanting Ashley out for a long time. And as you say, they probably thought the day was never going to come. So moving on. Barrow has been promoted back to the English Football League after 48 years away, following a vote by National League clubs to determine the season on a points per game basis. The Cumbrian side were 4 points clear when the season was suspended. It also means Kings Lynn Town and Wealdstone will be promoted as champions of National League North and South respectively. The decision is still subject to final ratification by the FA Council.
Absolutely.
So that's an interesting one.
All I'll say is absolutely delighted for Barrow. Yep. Got to say that, Mark. They got relegated in about 74. It's one of the first things I remember when cause 74 was when I started getting first into football.
Yep.
And when they got relegated, right? So in the old days, you used to have to seek re-election, didn't you? Right, yeah. So if you finished in the bottom four, right, you had to seek re-election, okay? The thing that annoyed me with Barrow was, right, they didn't finish bottom of the table, right? I think they finished third from bottom, okay? Yeah. And unlike a lot of clubs at the time that were perennial, and I do mean perennial, seekers of re-election, right? I think it was the first time in 4 or 5 seasons that Barrow had actually asked for, to be re-elected back, or kept in the Football League. And obviously they just made the decision. As I say, there were other clubs in there who have been, seeking re-election, to stay in the Football League for the previous 6 seasons, because I've had a look at it, for purposes of the show, and I'm sat there thinking, well, Barrow are getting their just for desserts, and good luck to Kings Lynn, from the Conference South, and I can't remember who the North is, but good luck to both of them, good luck, and hopefully that will be ratified and everybody moves forward. But no, it's great news, and apparently as well they're having a playoff in the conference to see who goes into the Football League.
Excellent. Well, that's good news as well. Then, to be fair, I think that's more than fair that they're doing that. It's good to know that they're still doing playoffs and things like that for certain people. I think it's only right, to be fair. Nobody really wants to see the seasons decided by points per game basis, do they? So, moving on. Stadiums will reopen to fans in France from the 11th of July as the country continues to lift their coronavirus restrictions. Up to 5,000 fans will be allowed in arenas to watch live sport, a figure that may increase later in the summer. It means football's French Cup and League Cup finals could be played in front of supporters after both were postponed to a date yet to be decided because of the pandemic. However, the League 1 and 2 seasons were cancelled in April. The French government said a further review of the national epidemiological situation will be carried out in mid-July to decide whether a loosening is possible for the second half of August. In April, Prime Minister Edouard Philippe put a blanket ban on all sport till September, but collective sports can now resume from Monday. Make your mind up.
All I would say is I believe because they've announced this, everybody should be watching this. They actually see what happens.
Yep.
Our government, the Premier League, governments around Europe, whether it's Italy or Spain or whatever. And the football governing bodies should be all keeping a watch on this. If France go ahead with the 5,000 thing, the problem I think you have is it's very simple where there's big stadia. I think the problem you have is when it's not big stadia.
Yeah.
As I say. I personally still think that social distancing is key, but obviously, people's opinions on that are changing by the minute. But
definitely.
But the thing is it's a step forward for supporters who, for some strange reason, and I don't really understand it given the current climate, but they're. Obviously we have younger supporters out there who are desperate to get into the stadium. The thing is, and this is the point I was going to make, right, Mark, was before the Premier League came along, right, I would have said that supporters, right, at football matches is key, right?
Yeah.
It's key for the clubs in terms of revenue, and whatever way you want to look at it in terms of their match day and stuff like that. But as soon as the Premier League and Sky TV came along, right, and I hate to say it, but football fans are irrelevant.
Yep.
They're irrelevant. They are literally, but because of the money involved, right? I've seen different figures during this pandemic, which is the reason why football restarted. Because as soon as the Bundesliga started, right, it was a guarantee that we were going to start again at some time, and the other major European leagues will as well. I mean. Yep. Well, they've already started. Spain started. Italy started. So this, because I had my head on where I was thinking at first when they announced the restart, right? Obviously, I was against it, but I was also sitting there thinking there's no point restarting it. Restarting without the fans is pointless, right?
Yep.
Then I thought to myself, hang on, Mark, you're talking rubbish. You're talking pre Sky TV, you're talking pre Premier League, right?
Yep.
Because up until that point, the clubs needed the fans, right? As soon as we got beyond that point, Premier League, Sky TV, soon as you had the armchair fan, right, that was prepared to pay all the subscriptions, and Sky was prepared to pump money into football, right? The fans went completely out the window.
Yep.
I mean,
absolutely.
And we are, whether we like it or not, we are cannon fodder to the clubs because we do everything out of loyalty to our club.
Do you know what? I was going to say exactly that in the context of everything at the moment, regards to the Premier League, regards to the government stance on the Premier League stance on the Premier League and football in general, we are exactly what you just said, cannon fodder. It's as simple as that. So yeah, cannon fodder is 100% what we are. Couldn't agree with that more. Anyway, that brings us to the end of that segment of the show today. So we're going to take a break now. When we come back, we'll be going into Saints transfer news links.
Saints Show here on Fiesta FM. Tune in every Thursday 12 till 2 for informative football chat and great tunes.
Right, welcome back everybody. So Saints transfer news links. Celtic, Fraser Forster and Mohamed Elyounoussi signings are not unrealistic. Southampton have been negotiating signing for several weeks, able to meet clubs' demands. Watford and Southampton maintain interest in player. Leicester withdrawn from making bid. Report 10 million Everton target Mohamed Salisu currently prefers to join Southampton instead. And that will bring us to the end of the Saints transfer news. So, Fraser Forster and Mohamed Elyounoussi signings not unrealistic. Let's not get carried away, Saints fans. These are not permanent deals. They're talking about the possibility of both Elyounoussi and Forster actually rejoining Celtic on loan, says manager Neil Lennon. He says Celtic are not immune from the financial impact of the virus, but is confident they can add to the squad. They're two players we'd dearly love to have for next season. I don't think it's unrealistic. They did a lot last year and made a really positive contribution. We'll have to wait and see. They're not our players. We'll see how negotiations go. If you are entertaining the thought of loaning them again, Southampton, and not sending them permanently, go and boil your heads. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Get these wages off the books.
Hang on, Mark. You can't really say that, right?
Well, I can, because that's how I feel.
No, you can't really say that.
I can, because that's how I feel.
Because the thing is it's not as straightforward as that, is it? In the sense that you have to have clubs that are interested in buying the players, right? And as we have found with Fraser, right, all this thing that a couple of weeks ago were surrounding him, okay? Chelsea's and all of a sudden Chelsea's and Arsenal are interested, right? I'm sure, right, if they're all looking for backup keepers, right, and I know Arsenal probably might now be looking for a number one keeper since the injury the other night to their number one, but what I would say to you is I'm sure they have other goalkeepers out there that they're interested in, right? So, because I thought about that link the other day, and I'm thinking to myself, how realistic is it that Arsenal or Chelsea are going to sign Fraser Forster, right? Yeah. Yep. And you think about it, and you think there's bound to be, I don't want to say better options, but there's bound to be other options available to them out there. So I would say, Fraser's in there with a host of other keepers that have the possibility of moving to those clubs. The reason why I highlighted the article, Mark, is it's the first time that Neil Lennon has come out and spoken publicly about both players, right? And the thing is he's come out and spoken publicly for the first time and said loan. And you're sitting there going, loan. Yep. I don't want a loan.
Yep.
I want you to come and get them. And, the thing is, Neil, are you playing Olivier Nietzsche? I'll even give you the two of them for Olivier Nietzsche. Yep. And you just think loan. And the other thing is like El Zanussi a couple of weeks ago, right? I think it was it might have been about a week before the Fraser links came out with Chelsea and Arsenal, right? But El Zanussi was being linked with Real Sociedad in Spain, right? And that seems to have gone completely cold. In the same way that, every summer we have Guido Carrillo going back to Boca Juniors. But you know what I mean? The thing is these stories get dug up and then you hear nothing from them ever again,
My approach on it, and the reason I made the comments I made, is the fact that purely and simply, like a lot of Saints fans, I'm sick to the back teeth of it. Sick to the back teeth of the whole thing. Either take a financial hit and get these players off the book, or figure out some way of doing something, because everyone's getting sick to that back teeth for the situation. It's not helping the club. It's doing long-term damage to the club. It doesn't help anybody.
No,
so you do the best you can to get these players out of the club, because people have had enough of it, and I certainly have. It's got to a point now, it's just ridiculous.
I agree.
We're laughing stock.
That is Celtic manoeuvring, because let's be honest, okay? So Fraser had a good season with them, okay? Yep. And obviously that has helped to put his star back on the map, so to speak, where it had fallen off.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I thought about it and I thought to myself, realistically, in the cold light of day, Celtic's probably the only place that he's going to end up at.
Yep.
So, my attitude would be, and I get them both off the books, El Zanussi as well, right? And I said in one of the shows and podcasts, a few weeks ago, that I would do a deal with those two, and Nisha, and get a deal done there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if you can get Fraser and Nadia Nisha to join Celtic, and we get Olivier Nisham in return, fair enough. But they've got to do something, because it's getting to the point everyone's sick to the back teeth of the situation, and the players are probably just as fed up of it as everyone else is.
Yeah.
I'm sure Fraser and Mohamed would rather be settled at a club and be able to go, I know what I'm doing. Anyway, moving on. Southampton fans will likely remember Paul Mitchell, now director of football at Monaco. He worked with Saints for 3 years, taking clubs with charge of the club's scouting and recruitment, and from there he moved to Tottenham, ended up working for the Red Bull Group before taking up his role in the French Principality. Sunday's edition of L'Equipe reports that Mitchell and Monaco are keen on signing Axel Disasi from Stade Reims and Southampton. The Premier League club apparently have been linked previously. It's now claimed they've been in negotiations for several weeks and are able to meet the price tag requested. Rennes are also keen, however, they would have problems paying the $15 million required. Wolves have been following the situation, although their interest isn't presented as seriously as Southampton's. He's a 22-year-old central defender who can also play at right back.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, he kind of is what is required.
Yeah,
we're going to come on to the other one in a minute, but Axel's, he's definitely what's required in terms of centre back, right back. right? Positions wise, he'd be ideal for us, okay?
Yep.
Now, we've been, it's news to me. We've been in negotiations for weeks. I mean, I know he was on the radar, but all of a sudden we've been in negotiation with him for weeks. I'm thinking we have.
Well, it's taking a very long time to get a deal over the line then, isn't it?
But so if that's the case, then let's hope the deal get. But I keep reading that we're lined up. I mean, the Dutch right back seems to have disappeared off the scene, and in fact, you turn around, after being told that it was more or less a done deal, Now we're being told he's off to Hertha Berlin or something like that.
Yep.
So who knows? And there's going to be another story like that in a couple of minutes, people.
Yep.
But the thing that I would say is if we're front of the queue, we've been negotiating for weeks. We've got the fee agreed, according to what's being said in the article. Then let's hope we can get one or two of these deals over the line, because it's much needed in the position.
Oh, absolutely.
Much needed in the position.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just a case of finding a flat to rent in Southampton or something, Mark. It's quite clearly very close to happening, so it's not an issue. It won't be a problem. It'll happen. Cool.
People, if you could see this man's face, which I know you can, right, there's definite cynicism going on here. Anyway,
talking of cynicism. Watford and Southampton maintain their interest in Jean-Claire Todibo, according to Mundo Deportivo. The defender will return to Barcelona after finishing his low spell at Schalke this summer. Leicester were interested, but it's believed that the Foxes were unwilling to take necessary steps to sign him. The newspaper now states Brendan Rodgers' side have withdrawn from making a bid for the Frenchman, just like AC Milan. Hornets and Saints are still interested in the 20-year-old. Serie A side could be without Kalidou Koulibaly next season, and their plan is to replace him with Todibo. Well, that'll put his price up straight away, won't it? There is a meeting scheduled between the new camp leaders and the player's agent, according to reports. He values all the proposals on the table, and the side will need a fixed fee of 25 million to cut ties with the central defender. 25 million, he won't be coming to Saints then. Right, anyway.
Mate, trust me, okay? This is one of these stories where, right, they've decided Leicester obviously showed an interest initially, right? So they get another couple of Premier League club names together, right? They're fluffing up the report, right? But soon as I read it and I seen the evaluation, I thought, that ain't happening. Happening.
I've got to be honest, if the evaluation is 25 million and Leicester allegedly were offering 26 million for Yannick Vestergaard, why haven't they signed this guy yet?
You know why they haven't signed him? Because he's not worth 25 million.
Just saying.
26 million. He's not even worth 26 pence.
Yeah, this is the same Leicester team that apparently valued or apparently were willing to bid 26 million for Yannick Vestergaard, but they haven't paid 25 million for this bloke. Yeah, okay, moving on. Right, so 10 million Everton target Mohamed Salisu currently prefers to join Southampton instead, which is quite a surprise.
Yeah.
Look at the two teams, I think you'd probably look at him as a player and think,
This was the most recent article I could find, Mark, right? Now, I'll tell you what's interesting from my point of view is, right, Salisu obviously is a centre-back, right? Now, this Axel... what's his surname again?
Disasi.
Disavi. Right, Axel Disavi is a centre back and right back. The thing about Salisu is he can play in the midfield as well. And I just think in terms of those two, because you're just talking about around the £10 million, okay?
Yep.
If you could raise the 20 million, right, from sort of, say, Pierre Højbjerg, or maybe if somebody was to offer, say, 12 million, 10 million for Vestergaard, because I take that sort of money. And the thing is if you've got somebody who can play right back, centre back, then you don't need to go looking for a right back. You don't
right.
need to go, and then you can bring in Salisu, who can play centre back as well as play in the midfield. You know, and I think you're sort of addressing. Okay, you're bringing in 2 players, but you're more or less addressing 3 or 4
Absolutely.
positions.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's
I'd
not.
agree with that.
I mean, at £10 million, even with a depressed market, it's they're reasonable prices to me.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see us bring them both in, Mark.
For up and coming players.
Well, if you're looking at the sort of model of player that we're looking to sign, judging by what Ralph said, what the club are saying as well, and their current philosophy, etc., they both fit that philosophy. They're a decent amount of money. I'd be very keen to get them both in.
100%, mate. Agree with you 100%.
I think we've summed that out quite nicely. That also brings us to the end of our transfer link section of the show today. So we'll take another break, and this will be, when we come back, it'll be the last break we'll be doing. And when we come back, we'll be doing our 2 Saints preview of Saints versus Arsenal ahead of Thursday's game. So we will be right back.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the 2 Saints show.
Right, welcome back, everybody. So, the 2 Saints preview of Saints versus Arsenal. Mark, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I mean, all I would kind of say is like it's. I don't want to get carried away. People are already getting carried away. Yes, I think Arsenal are in a mess right at the minute. I think they do have the manager, to take them forward. It's going to take a while for them to sort the mess out, and whether we can take advantage of that on Thursday night or not, really, it kind of remains to be seen. Because while I greeted the win at Norwich with great euphoria, and in the cold light of day, like I said, we are talking about the team that's bottom of the league, okay? And while I do think there is an opportunity, certainly there's an opportunity there.
Yep.
It's like using the old cliche of a wounded animal.
Yep.
But there is airs of caution, because I mean, I went to the game at the Emirates in the league when we drew 2-2. Should have came away with all 3 points. I mean, the performance deserved the 3 points.
Definitely.
It was. There was a little bit of, you could see us going backwards, and when the board was held up, I think it was for 7 minutes, and they scored, I think, in the 6th minute of added on time or something.
Lacazette, yep.
And it's one of those ones where you just sort of sink to your knees, and you kind of think to yourself, what a major disappointment at the time, because overall, we played really well in that game. That was that was one of the away games where you turn around and you say, definitely deserved the 3 points. Losing the 2 points was an absolute kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
But then, as I say, it's so difficult to gauge, Mark, about Thursday night, okay? Because, the thing is you want to be controlled in your thoughts. I want to try and be controlled in my thoughts about what's actually going to happen and stuff like that. And I suppose, the conservative in me sort of thinks to myself, it's going to be a draw, okay?
Yep.
Which I know isn't going to really excite Saints fans.
Yep.
But that isn't to say that it isn't an opportunity and we should be grabbing the opportunity.
Yeah.
Personally, I would have liked to have seen David Luiz play, because he's an absolute liability, right? So I'm disappointed that he's suspended, because I thought he would have created even in the game on Thursday, he would have created mayhem for his own team.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the problem for Arsenal is that he was shambolic, and they were shambolic, and they have been for the last 2 games. The Man City game and Brighton and Hove Albion. Shambles, really, Arsenal, and they're kind of there for the taking, but my concern is that's exactly why it's a concern. They're there for the taking, and it's not the sort of match that Saints normally would tend to get a result from. Purely and simply because you go into it thinking, yeah, they're there for the taking. How many times have we been there as Saints fans, though?
No, I mean, all I would say is, right, so just going back to the game, the 2-2 early in the season, I mean, Lacazette put Arsenal ahead on 18 minutes. And then basically Saints scored Saints went ahead on the 8th minute through Danny Ings. Lacazette equalised for Arsenal on the 18th minute. And then Danny Ings basically got, I think he was the one, it was either him or Michael Omafemi was fouled for the penalty. I think it was Danny Ings that was fouled for the penalty. And James Ward-Prowse stepped up, took the penalty. I think the initial penalty was saved, Mark, and James Ward-Prowse scored the rebound.
That's right, he scored on the rebound.
In the 71st minute. And then Lacazette, as I say, 6 minutes into injury time, scored their equaliser. And all I would say is it's a bit like even that game in the November, where we're going into it. You've got an opportunity, and Saints have an opportunity on Thursday.
Yep.
And I think I'm going draw. I mean, I'd love to turn around and say we're going to beat them because there's a great opportunity there to beat them.
Yeah, definitely.
But I genuinely think it's going to end in a draw, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for me, there's an opportunity there to get a result, Mark. I'd be disappointed if we didn't. But yeah, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking.
Right, yeah, I mean, 2-1 Saints is feasible. I don't, I've heard other people going for bigger score lines than that in Saints' favour. I've heard people being, a bit like myself, being slightly more cautious about the whole thing. I mean, it is a hell of an opportunity, and it wouldn't surprise me if we won.
Yep.
But I'm just err on the side of caution.
Yep.
And I'm going to go 1-1.
I mean, I must admit, the only thing that I would add to what I have said, and the only thing that does worry me is, although the fact I've said a 2-1 Saints win, the only thing that does worry me on the negative side is we all know that Saints can be quite fragile mentally at times, and I'm worried the fragility is going to come in based on the fact that will they be looking at the game going, 3 more points and we're at 40, we're safe. So will they take their eye off the ball a little bit?
No, I'm not. I don't think I'm expecting that. I'm just expecting it's Arsenal. There'll be a degree of. I think there's going to be a degree of caution because it's Arsenal. But then, like I said, I mean, we offer enough. I mean, we showed in the Norwich game that we offer enough going forward, right? The only thing that you worry about is certainly with somebody like Aubameyang, right? And Lacazette came on the other night, so Aubameyang. But if say Lacazette and Aubameyang start, right? You look at our defenders and you think, are you going to be up to the task? That's if they have balls being played into them. Yep. I'm sort of sat there and I'm thinking, I mean, it's all ifs and buts, but are our defenders going to be up to the task? Because, like I said, I'm confident enough in the ability of the players going forward.
Yep.
I'm confident enough in that.
Yep.
I just look at us defensively, and I think, will we be able? I'm not saying that there are going to be the perfect balls into the forwards for Arsenal. But if the opportunities arise, are our defenders, i.e. our centre backs, not necessarily the full backs, our centre back's going to be up to the task.
I'll be honest with you. I think we've got to change tactics against Arsenal. Despite the fact I predicted we'll get a 2-1 result, I think it will also require a slight change in tactics. And I'd be very tempted to bring Ariel Romeu in for this game and stick him in front of the back four as an enforcer.
Yeah, but
because I'd have that concern about
who drops to the bench then?
Well, that's the only player you could drop probably is Højbjerg. You can't drop Ward-Prowse. You can't do it. I think Højbjerg would have to be the player you'd have to sacrifice, to be fair. Because that's the only way I can see that you can shore up our defence. If you're worried about our centre-halves being strong enough, the only way you can give our defence any extra security is to stick the like of, say, Romeu in front of them.
Or you turn around and say to Højbjerg,
yep,
this is a team must, and we'll need you to do an Oriol Romeu job and screen. Because he could. The all intents and purposes.
That's the only other thing I was going to say.
He could screen the back four, couldn't he?
Well, that's the only other thing I was going to say. If you're not going to bring Romeu in to do that, then obviously you go with Højbjerg. But you have to give him that specific job.
The only thing that worries me when we do things like that, right? And it's only a recent thing because we never seem to have this problem, say, when Sneijderlin was doing the job or Wanyama was doing the job, is I've noticed that when we specifically bring in somebody to screen the back four, right, there's a distance between the two central midfielders because obviously the screener's playing a more deeper lying role and the other central midfielders further up the pitch. So I would say in that instance, the onus is going to be on Stuart Armstrong on the right-hand side. Yep. And I'm trying to think who it is on the left-hand side. Nathan Redmond, right? Or whatever way round it is. But there's going to be an onus on those two that when the ball's delivered quick, that they break with the ball, and basically make sure that delivery's well, so that they're always in a position to receive the ball once the screening of the defenders has been done. Because obviously, but I mean, look, that could work. I mean, whether it's Romeu that comes in and Højbjerg sacrificed, or whether it's Højbjerg, that turn around and say, because I don't think James Ward-Prowse does that kind of job particularly well. I mean, I know they've tried him before,
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. So in summary for me, 2-1 Saints, but I think it's going to be one of those squeaky ones.
And 1-1 for me.
Okay, brilliant. Moving on, a quick review of Saints versus Watford, which is obviously the game that comes up after Saints versus Arsenal. So looking at the head-to-head, this is going to be a Southampton played Watford on the 30th of November 2019. Saints actually ran out 2-1 winners. In total games played in the Premier League record head-to-head is that 11 games played, Saints have won 4, there have been 5 draws and Watford have won 2. Saints have scored 17 goals and Watford has scored 14. So although Watford have some dangerous players, I'm quite confident, given Saints' form recently, I'd like to think that this is one of the games that Saints are going to look to put some points up in. I think the key men for Saints, obviously Danny Ings, James Ward-Prowse. I think a lot of it comes down to our defence. If our defence can hold out and play as well as we know they can at times and can get a clean sheet, I'm quite confident we can get a result against Watford. But we'll see what happens on that one. That's just a brief preview for myself. It's going to be a tough game. It's definitely one Saints need to get points from, and hopefully it will help them to start climbing up the table. Wow, that brings us nicely to the end of today's show. So I hope you've enjoyed what you've heard from us today. Thank you for putting up myself and Mark H yet again today. So it's goodbye from me. And it's goodbye from me. And as I say, thanks to everybody who takes the time to listen. It's greatly appreciated. We thank all the different sort of Saints groups that allow us to post, on their different group sites on Facebook and that there. And, please, if you like what you're listening to, please go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. It makes us feel like we're not, out on the wilderness on our own, and people are actually listening to the content that we're putting out there. But look, in the meantime, look after each other,
till we speak, hopefully,
Absolutely.
or you hear our next pod next Thursday or Friday, whenever it's going to be out. In the meantime, look after each other, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye for now, people.
Bye.